A fox knows many things, but a hedgehog knows one important thing. It's one important thing. It's one important thing.
Welcome to the Morning Hedgehog podcast, where we explore the business ideas that shape your success. Here are your hosts, Ira Gardner and Glynns Thomas.
Well, good morning. How are you today?
I am great. How are you?
Excellent. I decided to be able to turn off the lights today because it is a clear bluebird sky today, and it's just so inspiring, so beautiful. And yeah, I'm in a great spirit. I'm happy that we get to do this today. How are things in Sacramento?
It's blue skies today. It wasn't yesterday. It was all overcast, but it is gorgeous. Spring is in full bloom here.
Excellent. Well, today I'm super excited to learn from you because we're going to be talking about marketing, and you lead workshops on this topic, and you are a former vice president of internet marketing for Wells Fargo. So you have a lot of professional experience in this area that goes way beyond mine. So I'm just going to turn it over to you. And I will ask whatever questions that I think our viewers might have, which are probably the same ones I have. And so let's go from there.
Great. Excellent. So actually, I hear from a lot of small businesses that they don't feel good about marketing or promoting themselves. And it actually makes them nervous and uncomfortable. So before I wanted to get into some other marketing concepts, which I hope to do through our Hedgehog webinars, I really wanted to address this initial fear that holds people back from really getting into marketing and promoting themselves. What I hear from small businesses is they don't want to be one of those businesses. And the words I hear them use are things like slimy, salesy, pushy. Have you heard similar things with any of your students?
Oh, absolutely. And I feel the same way. I mean, it's one of the reasons I am so shy about social media, because so often social media feels very hard sell promotional content. And so I have struggled in this area myself for my entire career. I much prefer talking to people face to face in person.
Yeah. Okay. So I know of people who will have issues talking one-on-one with people and promoting themselves, and they would rather do it on social media because they can feel like at least there's some sort of barrier between them. But I can see your point as well, is that social media, there's a lot of people on social media who are doing hard sells these days. And you don't want to associate yourself as one of those types of businesses. The reason why I wanted to talk about this subject today also is because I was just having a conversation the other day, just a couple of days ago, with another photographer who has been in business for a while, not too long, but we were talking about email newsletters, and she was concerned and said she's never sent one out, and she didn't want to annoy her customers. So that reminded me of this issue that people have. And I hear it frequently from my own marketing students. And usually when I ask them questions, when I hear that they don't want to come off as salesy or pushy, it's usually because they're worried about what other people are going to think of them personally. They don't want to be disliked, and they don't want to bother people or be annoying, and they don't want their brand associated with any of that kind of negativity. And I get it, it's hard because we're promoting ourselves, really. It seems like it would be so much easier to promote somebody else or to promote a product than to have to promote our businesses, because our self-worth isn't tied into it. And typically as humans, I think we just don't want to be seen as being boastful. And that's the fear. We don't want to be seen like we're being boastful.
Well, there's a couple of things that come to mind just listening to you talk about this. Is I have these same issues, and in newsletters in particular can feel challenging. And that goes back to what we talked about a couple episodes ago about the need to really segment and target our mailing list so that we can make it more personal and make sure we're qualifying the people that really want to hear from us. Because I will tell you that I actually have had customers complain when I'm not reaching out to them to even just let them know what I'm doing. Like they feel like they've dropped off the map. And what's really fascinating is every time I do a newsletter, I see a spike in my sales. I see a direct correlation to it. So I think it's just about how do we personalize it through segmenting our mailing list and making sure that what we're sending is relevant and interesting to those people. And I totally get the idea that it's a lot easier to talk about somebody else, and that'll be a whole nother episode to talk about secondary flow of communication. Communication theory is one of my areas of interest.
Okay, okay. And I actually think that, I'm going to talk more about what you just brought up. And I'm also going to talk about how through practice, I think you will find a shift, and actually you will be the best person to promote yourself in the most elegant way that isn't pushy. But I don't want to get ahead of myself here. So
Can't wait. I'm excited.
but at the same time, we have these worries. We know that we need to market ourselves. We know we're supposed to be out there, so we're stuck. And a lot of times I hear emerging businesses talk about how they wish they could hire someone to do this for themselves. And some companies have done this with success, but it's not always possible when you're just starting out, right? And what your business is about really should be embodied by you, and it really should be driven by you. So even if down the line you hire someone, you need to know this and understand it to your core so that you can train other people's. So it really means you're going to have to get in there and you're going to have to start doing this, because
You are your brand, right?
you are your
And you are the best salesperson for your company. There's no doubt about it. I actually spent a couple of years working as a marketing representative for a group of artists. And I will tell you that even with all my efforts on their behalf, if they weren't fully engaged and willing to be creating the content and sending it out and going on the videos, like this idea of you're going to hire somebody to just do that for you, it doesn't work, because even when you have somebody as a marketing rep, it's a partnership. It's not you're just taking over this for me.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And to go back to a previous webinar we've done where we were talking about business models, you mentioned that most photography businesses are a hybrid. I think you were talking about that it
Yes.
was a
Yep.
boutique and a franchise. And
Correct.
so I just want to make that point that although you may see other businesses successfully use outside salespeople, for those of us in photography, it's far more likely that we're going to be more on the boutique side, and it's more about relationships. And so that's why we are the brand, and that's why we really need to learn how to do this. So I really think it's a change in perspective that needs to happen here. And because this worry and fear, I believe, really can be overcome. And many businesses before us have figured out how to do that. And I know the rest of you can too. And they do it professionally and gracefully. So you don't have to worry about being the slimy, pushy person out there.
Well, and especially if you have identified what your hedgehog concept is, you'll be more excited to talk about it. And if you've identified who you are and built your business model around you, you realize that your target market, your most optimum market, is going to be people that you do relate to, and you are going to find it easier to talk to. I think where we get in trouble is when we try to do mass marketing as opposed to this kind of segmented personal marketing. And I think that's what I get excited about, the relationship building that happens with that.
Right. So maybe it's when you're doing the mass marketing, and maybe that's like, for instance, just email marketing. It's just whenever you're not there face to face, it's reminding yourself that when I'm writing this, I'm writing it to an individual. And that might make it easier for some people to remember the relation aspect of it.
Well, and I think, you'll know whether you're hitting the right tone by the level of engagement.
Oh, yes. Yeah, well, and that's helpful when you are talking to somebody one-on-one. So as you get practice with talking with people one-on-one, it'll become easier to translate that over to a mass marketing.
Hmm.
But I think also too, once you really understand who you are and you really understand how that benefits your business, I think it becomes exciting for you to promote yourself. When this mind shift that I'm going to talk about happens, it's not something that you're going to hold back from and be hesitant about. It's something you're going to look forward to doing. And that's what my wish is for everyone, is to really feel great about what they're doing, to understand what they're doing, and to really want to tell people, the right people, about what they're doing. Okay, so moving on to the next slide. But before we get into that, I also want to remind people, I said on this first thing, no one is paying as much attention as you are. I want to remind people that no one is really holding them under a microscope and listening to every single word you're saying and scrutinizing how you're saying it. They will only hear a small fraction of what you're saying. So I hope that sort of eases the pressure off of you. We all are super busy people with our current habits, our distractions, and our own responsibilities. So it's okay not to be perfect every single time you say it. And the focus should be on being authentic and human, because there's that saying that people don't remember what you say, they remember how you made them feel. So really the point I want to make here is, if you're feeling that fear and worry about putting yourself out there, and I'm sort of envisioning the person at a networking meeting, take a breath and realize you're going to meet several people. Most of them aren't going to remember what you told them. As disappointing as that is,
Yeah,
use this
they're
in
they're
practice.
thinking about their own concerns. Like, we all are more judgmental of ourselves than we are of others. So even if you do make a faux pas, laugh it off, acknowledge it, but laugh it off, because the reality is, everybody does it, and look how many times we give a pass to that. So yeah, I
Right,
totally agree with
right. I would love to do a little webinar about networking too, and just talking about how you can make the best of it. Um, but moving on to my next slide here.
I'm taking notes.
So I like to think of it this way. Instead of worrying if people are going to dislike you, realize that you're letting certain people know about something that could benefit them, something that can make them really happy, and something that's going to be of great value to them. And you're also introducing people, um, when you're introducing people to this, you're actually sifting through and finding the ones that value and love what you do. Not everyone is going to, because we all have our own style preferences, right? So it's okay that not everyone's our client. I think also part of the fear of that you're going to be disliked is not understanding that there's this, you know it when you're sitting at home that not everyone's going to be your customer, but when you go out, let's say to a networking event, you want everybody to like you. So it's
Oh
just
yeah.
reminding yourself that, you know, people can like you as a person, but maybe they're not so interested in your style photography. That's okay, because your job there is not to get everybody to like you. Your job is to find the people in that room who love your style. So you talk to somebody, you kind of get an idea of, you know, what their response is to your work, and then you kind of go, yeah, maybe I need to move on to someone else. So we're here to find our best fit clients. But and overall, so this is a shift in, instead of I'm here to promote myself, I am here to help a certain group of people who are my best clients. I'm here to find those people and to help them. And so
Can I
here's,
just jump in here for
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
one second? I just, you said something really important, and I want to make sure our listeners really get a hold of this concept. I actually think if you're wanting everybody to like you, you're actually devaluing your work, because I want only a small number of people to really like me, but I want them to be super fans that will pay a premium price for it. If everybody likes it, then you're creating a mass market product that is going to be at a lower price point. And just I've been taking advantage of the extra time recently to be able to get into some of the webinars that PPA offers. And one of the webinars I enjoyed recently was by Brant Menswar. I'm probably butchering his name, but he gave a talk that says, find your black sheep. And what he was talking about is, how do you stand out? You stand out by being different, or being of a particular style and a particular voice. And for me, when I'm working with people, I'm trying to help them find their unique voice that is consistent, so that if everybody likes you, then you don't really have any real fans. You just, well, that's it, it's beige, if you will. And what Brant talks about is the fact that you have to become the black sheep that stands out. Or Seth Godin talks about becoming the purple cow that stands out, right? So I think going into marketing with the goal that everybody likes me is a huge mistake.
That's a really interesting differentiate there, that I hadn't heard. That one particular piece of that is that if everybody likes you, that's actually, you should be worried about that.
Mm-hmm.
And that if you come across somebody who's like, yeah, it's just not my style, actually be excited and happy about that, because that means you have a particular style. That might not be the right person, but that means you've differentiated yourself enough that the people who do like it are going to be great fans of yours.
Some of my clients have hired other photographers, and I'm thinking specifically portraiture, right? And here's the interesting thing about portraiture. In a perfect world, people would want to be photographed by multiple photographers because they would have different styles. I mean, think about how many photographers photographed Marilyn Monroe. Lots of them, but they all did it differently. And so the idea is that we're not giving people enough of a choice if we are making it generic. And yeah, I like it. Well, to me, like it is just not a strong enough term to create differentiation in the marketplace. And we want to become a monopoly of the only person that can provide this for the select few people that are real fans. They're real connoisseurs.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. I love that. So I'm going to move on to an example that might be helpful to some of our viewers. And it has nothing to do with photography, but it's the point that when you shift from thinking, I need to promote myself and I need to tell people these things, to I want to help people and come from a place of helping. That's a better place to go. So years ago, I was in a class that was a public speaking class. And there was a woman there who was an attorney. And she talked about how before she had to go into court and do her opening statement or her closing statement, she'd just get really nervous. She'd get so nervous that she'd have to go to the restroom right before, and she would.
Yep.
She would be sick. Poor thing. But later she moved into her own business where she helps people manage their financial documents and all their other personal documents. And what do you keep? How long do you keep it? How do I organize it? Where do I save it? And all that sort of stuff. And she started giving classes on this. And what she learned was that when she was teaching, and therefore the focus was on helping others, she had no problems public speaking, no problems at all. So I think that also that understanding might help some people in feeling a lot more comfortable when they're out there promoting themselves. You're out there helping yourself. For instance, here's an example as a photographer. You might say in your elevator speech, or if you've heard of an elevator speech, that's the really quick marketing message of how you explain what you do if you're in an elevator and you only have a few, like a minute, right?
Yeah.
So a photographer might say, I'm a photographer that photographs families. When was the last time you had a family portrait taken? Let's schedule an appointment so you can get this done. Maybe, I mean, that certainly has the great aspect of asking for the sale, but is that necessarily coming from a place of helping? Um, Maybe something could be something like, I help families remember special moments and the love they have for each other through portrait artwork created to last for generations. Here's some recent work that I've done for others in your town. And then wait to see their reaction. Is this something that they like? And then you can decide if you want to move on. But hopefully you can see the distinction in there of coming from, I'm supposed to make a sales message versus I'm going to go find that right target audience, and I'm going to come from a place of helping and understanding what it is that they want and what they need.
I'd like to think that if I was in a public setting and I knew CPR and somebody was having a heart attack, that I wouldn't be so shy and self-conscious that I wouldn't immediately go and help. And I think when it comes to marketing, to get over the shyness, we have to not be thinking about ourselves, but thinking about our customers and being able to talk to them about how we can help them. How are we transforming their lives? Am I transforming the lives of client's business by creating the product and branding photography that will generate the revenue that's going to support them and their employees? Am I transforming the lives of a family by creating portraits that when hung on the wall is shown to improve self-esteem through the study of psychology? Or in the case of my most recent fine art black and white artwork, I'm transforming spaces into places of quiet contemplation in a otherwise busy and stressful world. So I'm excited to talk to people about that imagery, because I've figured out what the service I really am providing others is.
And when you think back to some of your most successful projects and the feedback that you got, the feedback that you're going to get is probably how you helped them. So for instance, in my headshot photography business, I have had clients come back to me to say, wow, I feel more comfortable in my skin now because of you. I just loved that experience of being photographed by you. I love the portrait that I have. I was blown away by how many likes I got on social media, what I posted, but mostly my confidence has been boosted and I'm more apt to put myself out there. And those are the customers that I feel the most fulfilled as an artist and as a business, that I've really done my job. And so if that's what I'm doing to help that customer, then that's what I want to tell other people.
Okay, so you just said something really powerful that I want to make sure everybody gets this. I mean, this is like really important, is to start remembering what the reaction is to your work from your best customers. What are they saying? And so you were talking about headshots. You know what? I've recently done quite a few headshots, and I have had emails where they told me that their headshot helped them get their next job. Now I can transform that into a marketing message. I help people get their next job or their next customer. That's easy to talk about now, right? Because I'm not talking about what I want to accomplish. I'm using what my customers are telling me that my work is helping them accomplish. And that's a whole nother way of looking at your marketing message.
It pains me when I hear people say that they're worried about promoting themselves and they're worried about being annoying or disliked. It's our duty as the business that we built to help as many people who are our target audience as possible. So if you take that on as your mission, I want to help these people in this situation. I want to help people who need to get a new job. I want to help people who are trying to get that next promotion or to get that next client. It's just a huge mind shift.
Well, I'm going to go deep on you for a moment.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you that most people that go into photography or into any profession did so because they were first solving a problem in their own life. For me, being drawn towards portrait photography was directly related to the fact that there's a gap in my childhood where there are no photos. And so for me, knowing that, I know how important photographs are to children and teenagers at that pivotal time, that inflection point between young adult and adulthood, to where I spent many years focused primarily. It's still my favorite portrait photography is to do high school senior portraits, because I want to capture and document that special time in somebody's life. So one area we can look at is, why do I do what I do for myself? Why do I get pleasure from it? What is it helping me do? And now can I start to think about my customers and my target audience as how am I helping them? What is this that I'm doing that's of benefit to them?
So I hope that's inspired you out there who have been struggling with this.
Thank you for listening to the Morning Hedgehog podcast. For show notes or to submit a question or comment, please visit www.themorninghedgehog.com.